is the ultimate travel guide from the people who know it best. Weekends with Yankee.
I grew up in Connecticut in a big Italian-American family, and it was pretty much just as you'd imagine. We'd have these huge Sunday dinners with homemade pasta and vegetables from the garden, and we were eating things like polenta and gnocchi and pesto long before these things became popular at restaurants. So when I first encountered Douglas Williams's food at his restaurant Mida in Boston's South End, I felt like I was coming home, because those dishes that I grew up with were the ones that he makes the best.
Amy is meeting up with Douglas at a mill in Lynn, Massachusetts, to pick up flour for his ricotta gnocchi.
This is the Mighty Mill?
This is the Mighty Mill. This is the original. So organic wheat berries go on the top. The berries hit the stones. Stones crushes the wheat berry, keeps it whole, pushes it out through the stones and then into the sifter. So the first sifter is going to be the finest, meaning it's going to basically shake out the finest particles. The middle one is going to have what we call middlings, which is a combination of fine bran, which is the outside of the wheat berry, and then the last one is going to be really coarse bran.
So why does your flour have a shelf life that's 90 days as opposed to a year?
This is living. The flour that we've been eating for 100 years is dead. So this has a shelf life that's good for 90 days. Like as soon as it's milled is when it's going to taste the best and have the most nutrition. But the way that industrial milling has changed, wheat, or the process, allows it to be basically made in factories and then shipped all over the country and held in warehouses and held on grocery store shelves. So it's part of kind of that industrial supply chain. That means that the flour doesn't taste as good, and it's not as good for us as it should be. In fact, it's probably bad for us when you actually kind of dig in. Let me show you guys an organic wheat berry. It's the most important thing. All right, guys, so this is it. This is from northern Maine. What they call is a heritage varietal, which was something that was grown before Industrial Revolution in Maine, so it's indigenous to Maine. We say that this is the original superfood.
So Douglas is going to show me how to make his famous ricotta gnocchi today, and suggested that we get the flour from here.
So good.
Yeah, so we're excited to see what we can do with the flour back at the restaurant.
I better be able to eat it. You guys better drive back out here and bring me some.
I can't promise we'll have any left.
Back in the South End, Douglas takes Amy to his local wine shop.
Our menu today is gnocchi,
cacio, pepe. Really intense pepper, creamy, all the lovely things.
Oh. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you guys. What's going on, Chef? How are you?
Hi.
Oh. I just love to hear a quick rundown of how you've made wine make sense for me and a lot of other people.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. So if you can see, the wall looks a little bit different. There's not a sign that says California or Italy or even a sign that says Chardonnay. We use something at the Urban Grape called the progressive scale, where the wine is organized by its body or its weight as opposed to geographical region or grape varietal. So if you find that you love one wine on this wall, you can have the confidence to know that you'll enjoy all of these based on their body. And we do lower price point, higher price point for different nights of the week for you.
I wonder how this system relates to food pairing, because Douglas and I are going to be making a gnocchi with cacio pepe sauce dish. So how would you then translate the system to pair the wine with that dish?
All right, so I'm assuming very pillowy homemade pasta and really focusing on that pepper. But I think we should really stay in Italy, birthplace of this dish. I have a great Syrah Petit Verdot blend in our 6R section.
Oh, great. Okay, so 6R means what?
6 is gonna be medium, so it's gonna have good fruit. It's gonna have some medium body to it, but it's gonna have this amazing structure. When you think about structure in wine, think about acid and tannin.
Right.
Okay, so this wine has great acid, which is gonna cut through that butteriness of the dish and make everything just super lovely.
That sounds so good.
Should we
And
try
it's
it?
from Tuscany?
Yeah, this is from Tuscany. It's called Castello Romatorio.
I'm taking off my coat if we're tasting.
Let's do it.
Stay a while. The opposite of corked.
Yes, this is so alive and just vibrant.
It's dancing in my glass.
Yeah, cheers. I'm not gonna
Cheers.
spit this.
Yeah.
Cheers, cheers.
I'm going to drink this too. So the wine industry is definitely not known for being a very diverse community. So I wonder what your experience has been being a person of color in this industry.
You know, it's been tough.
Yeah.
I've been in this industry for 25 years now, and there's a lot of stuff that I noticed in the past that I just put it, made my skin a little bit thicker. There's been moments where I've had, older white male customers come in and were asking my inventory manager, who knew nothing about wine, he knew numbers, about specific vintages in Burgundy. And every time I attempted to talk to him about it, because I've been to Burgundy, I'm the wine buyer, I'm the owner and the founder, he didn't want anything to do with me. So and then when I think back, that's happened so many times, every single week for my entire career. And so that's why we created the Urban Grape Wine Studies Award for Students of Color. It will put Black and brown faces in the industry immediately, so that same white consumer, it's not unique for them to see a Black person in the store. And I think we'll make some real change, at least here in Boston, and then hopefully other people will follow suit, and we'll be able to do this on a national and global level, because we need it.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow, we couldn't be better prepared to have an amazing meal, knowing who's doing the cooking. We've got the great wine. We've got our beautiful flour from One Mighty Mill. This is the foundation of an amazing meal.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for this
Cheers.
lesson. I enjoyed it so much.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Cheers, cheers.
Cheers. I love coming here. It always makes me happy. And it also makes me very happy to eat your famous ricotta gnocchi, which are so good and different from the typical potato-based preparation.
Yeah, just a different version. Yeah.
So instead of having to roast potatoes, rice the potatoes, or peel the potatoes, and then worry about the moisture level and not making it gummy, this is just great. You just mix it up like a batter.
Absolutely, super quick. We make shapes, drop it in the water, make the sauce, finished. So I'm just gonna add the cheese into the ricotta.
And that's Pecorino Romano. You could use Parmesan, but
Absolutely, Parmigiano works just as well, but traditionally it is Pecorino Romano.
Okay.
I added in just a little bit of nutmeg, good amount of salt and pepper, and now I'm just gonna mix it up first, okay? So let's go ahead and mix. And essentially we just wanna make this homogeneous.
okay. Just using a fork, nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy, no magic, just a lot of love.
Okay.
You can mix it almost indefinitely as long as you don't add flour. But once you add flour, you have to be very conscious of how many mixes you have. So we're gonna add actually half of that flour.
Okay.
There you go. And then I'm just gonna fold that in.
And the reason you don't want to overmix is because it develops gluten, which is the rubber band kind of.
Yes, and essentially this is really not pasta. This is technically a dumpling.
Right.
So you really want to be very gentle with how you add this and be very conscious of how many times you stir. So I got most of that incorporated. We're just gonna add the rest of that in.
Okay.
Okay. So there we go. I'm just gonna add a little bit of flour to the board.
Okay.
Pull this out onto the board, just like that. You basically wanna make it in a log. That's what we're trying to make, okay? And we're going to just give it a little notch off.
About 1.5 inches.
And just going to start to slowly and gently roll. Now you wanna keep this between your fingers. You don't wanna start putting your hand because it will warm it up too much. And then what you do is just push it up here to the front of your table and you cut another one off. You keep repeating that
going.
again.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna show you how to do this one thing. So we have our one rope, as we call, right? I dust with a little more flour. Cool. So I have that, I cut it in half. And now I just, there we go.
Nice.
A little more flour. And then I just pop them. I'm just gonna gently add them in. Come to the surface.
See, they're floating on top.
Floating on top.
They smell good.
Okay, take them out. Just want to add about 2 ounces of water in here. Little splash of olive oil.
Tiny bit.
Tiny bit, don't need much. 1 pinch of salt.
Okay.
2 heavy pinches of ground pepper. And just a couple drops of bright lemon.
Okay.
Just gonna roll that around, and essentially we're trying to make what we call a pepper tea. And that is essentially steeping a seed or a leaf in water, and what you start to smell is not just boiling water anymore, but you start to smell a really floral type of peppercorn, almost similar to the bouquet that the wine had.
Right.
It has that same unique quality. Okay, so we add our gnocchi, and now we just let that kind of come together, right?
I love this because it's so elemental. It's like you're just watching these elemental ingredients make something completely new.
And you don't know what's going on out there. You don't know what's happening outside.
focus.
It's all right here. And that's the lovely thing about cooking, but especially about pasta, is it commands your attention. So the key to cacio e pepe that most people mess up is that they try to put the cheese and add it while it's on the heat. You actually want to take it off the heat and swirl it around, or else the proteins from the cheese break down and they stick together.
Right.
And You don't want to do that. So I'm just going to take this, right? And just kind of do the rub your belly and chew gum at the same time. Okay?
Look at that.
Now we're just going to plate.
God, that looks good. Cacio pepe is having a little bit of a moment. I'm seeing it a lot. It's sort of a thing that people are rediscovering. It's
As it
a good
should
thing.
be.
Yeah.
As it should be. Lemon for some freshness. I think that'll brighten up and lend to the acidity in TJ's wine. Gnocchi, cacio, pepe.
Well, now we got to taste it.
Yes.
And we got to taste it with the wine.
Great.
All right, we've got our beautiful pasta, and now we've got to try out TJ's wine.
Oh, I cannot wait.
It's excellent.
I think TJ knocked it out.
He did. You grew up in a restaurant family, right?
Essentially, my dad was a chef. My mother worked in the same restaurant, and they met each other, and
Right.
I was made.
Yeah.
And there was less about the food per se, but more about the hospitality and the generosity. Whoever walked in the door, family. Really, it's just about the generosity piece and showing and talking through food. That's what my mom did best, and that's what my father did best, and now that's what I do best.
So you've cooked in various styles. I mean, you've cooked at French restaurants.
Yes, all over the world.
Yeah,
Yes.
all over the world. So
Yes.
how did you choose Italian as the thing you wanted to focus on?
I think Italian has a special sensibility, almost beyond every cuisine that I've come across. Just a general welcoming, and I think Italians have a special way of doing that. And I wanted to make sure I represent that on this side of this neighborhood, and make sure I bring and use this restaurant as a bridge to gather the neighborhoods and the city and maybe even the nation around a bowl of pasta. And I think that you can taste it, that I want to do that.
And what is special about this neighborhood where the business is?
I mean, it's an incredible neighborhood. I mean, some of the largest civil rights leaders have walked these streets and lived here and resided here. It is a very interesting dynamic to where you have one of the lowest income places in the country, next to one of the most highest income and net worth places in the country, only separated about by 200 feet. And it's an incredible story, not only of history, but a determination to mend that history and to mend the relations. And hopefully this restaurant will become, and I think in ways has become, a way to do that in a disguise, and a way to do that over conversation, over pasta, and over just general drink and having a great time.
I think that really translates to the experience as a diner. It's one of the most sort of diverse restaurant crowds in the city, which is wonderful. And then you feel so welcomed, and there's just a feeling of community in the restaurant. And then the food's fantastic. That doesn't hurt.
It all should line up, and also the value I think is there.
I have so enjoyed the kind of full circle aspect of today, from the flour to making this amazing pasta to having this incredible wine. And thank you for taking us into your world and for making Boston a better place to live and eat.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you. Cheers.
Cheers.